We have more for your ears only. I'm David Alpern.
I'm Eddie Robinson with this quote from the news. The whole nation should not be made to suffer. That was Mohammed Fazul Azim, a member of the Bangladesh parliament, after a report that more garment manufacturers may follow the Walt Disney Company in ending apparel production there, after the Savar factory building collapse that killed at least 446 people, with more still missing. Ironically, the engineer who originally warned about the building's structural problems the day before its collapse was arrested after the factory owners accused him of telling them it was just a small problem. Now this.
It was another week of financial mixed messages. Violence at a May Day demonstration in Seattle, as we just heard, seemed to echo angry protests across the troubled Eurozone. But a better-than-expected report of 165,000 new U.S. jobs last month pushed the Dow Jones Industrial Average over the 15,000 point for the first time ever, ending with a record close of 14,973.96. The Bureau of Economic Analysis also reported the gross domestic product expanded at an annualized rate of 2.5%, compared with 2.2% in 2012, and only 0.04% in the previous quarter.
Still, many economists read the statistics as a warning sign that austerity measures imposed by Washington are pushing the nation further down the same road as Europe, even as leaders there begin to back away from that approach to restoring economic health. To consider all those contradictions and the underlying statistics, for your ears only, we're joined now by Andrew Fieldhouse, federal budget policy analyst at the independent nonprofit Economic Policy Institute. He's a co-author of the new EPI Century Foundation report, Dangerous Targets: Why Setting a Specific Deficit Reduction Target Would Worsen the Economic and Fiscal Situation. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
The added jobs last month moved the unemployment number down from 7.57 to 7.51%. But the latest surveys also showed the number of those with or actually seeking jobs held steady at 63.3%, a low point since the financial crisis began. In what sectors is job growth strongest and weakest?
Certainly job growth has been weakest in the public sector. You've seen 741,000 job losses in the government sector since the recovery officially began in July 2009. And you'd see overall employment about 2.3 million jobs higher if you didn't have the government austerity we've seen, particularly at the state and local level. Job growth has typically been strongest in the health sector, the education sector throughout the recovery. Manufacturing has rebounded a little bit as the dollar has depreciated against emerging economies, and the temporary employment service has done pretty well. It's actually at a relatively high level compared to pre-recession levels, and it tends to be a leading economic indicator. But it's important to note that the headline unemployment number is a very noisy statistic right now and a bad indicator of the health of the labor market. If you had about 4 million workers who have dropped out of the labor force for cyclical reasons, added back in and unemployed, unemployment would actually be about 9.7% right now.
With near stagnation or worse in jobs overall, what explains the stronger GDP and another mini boom on Wall Street?
So the quarterly GDP number that you cited just looks at the change between the quarters. If you look at economic growth over the last year, it's actually a lower 1.8%. And that's very close to the 1.7% between the fourth quarter of 2012 and the fourth quarter of 2011. To put this in context, you need real GDP growth of about 2 to 2.5% to make real progress, bringing down unemployment. So right now you're seeing a bit of a bump in economic activity just because the end of 2012 was so weak because largely defense and spending cuts and decreased defense spending in anticipation of sequestration. As for Wall Street, profitability definitely increased because of the recession. Companies fired a whole bunch of people and squeezed more productivity out of their remaining workforce. Companies are also sitting on a lot of cash and starting to pay out a lot of dividends, which boosts share prices. So there's a very big divergence between the real economy and the labor market versus long-term profitability and stock prices right now.
Talk about the turnabout in economic thinking among European leaders and economists.
Well, right now, the academic underpinnings for the austerity movement have been completely shot. And you've seen a a change in stance among economists. And the European Union, European Commissioner Jose Manuel Barroso, recently said that Europe may be near its austerity limit. In the United States, you're seeing centrists. Chris Van Hollen, the ranking Democrat on the House Budget Committee, recently came out against austerity. The United States has done enough deficit reduction. And you're surprisingly getting people, John Makin, an economist with the Conservative American Enterprise Institute, calling for an end of austerity.
Talk about the very different ways that budget cuts versus tax increases actually affect the debt ratio.
Sure. The United States faces a big shortfall in aggregate demand. So you have to look at the demand impact of any policy, which then in turn relates to how quickly money is spent in the economy. If you cut tax, or if you raise taxes on upper income households who have a very high propensity to save instead of consume, you don't suck that much demand out of the economy. If you cut spending on unemployment insurance, money that's spent very quickly, either low income or low savings households, there's a very high respending multiplier effect. So in general, spending cuts are more damaging than tax increases, and spending cuts to safety net programs are particularly damaging. Right now, any government policy that reduces demand by more than 90 cents per dollar of the policy impact would actually increase the debt ratio, which means all government spending cuts right now will increase the debt ratio. Well, when you cut spending right now, the debt ratio is debt as a share of the economy. So when you cut spending, you're shrinking the economy, so the denominator shrinks. But you also, with less economic activity, pull in less tax revenue, and you spend more on unemployment insurance and automatic stabilizers. And you've seen this across Europe. The best estimate right now is that between 2011 and 2013, the European Monetary Union and the United Kingdom have actually increased their debt ratios by, on average, 5 percentage points because of austerity. It means that austerity has been entirely counterproductive.
Andrew Fieldhouse, federal budget policy analyst at the independent nonprofit Economic Policy Institute.
Quote from the news, "Unfortunately, we expect we will have more." That was J.P. Morgan Chase Chief Executive and Chairman Jamie Dimon on a series of regulatory enforcement actions against Chase, including one that charged various manipulative schemes in the energy trading department. Also last week, J.P. Morgan Chase lost another senior executive following 12 others in recent weeks and raising questions about the financial giant's future stature and status.
Next, celebrating a match made in music heaven. For your ears only.